Hello everybody. Welcome to my Digital India with Ravindra Dastikop series. And in this session we'll be talking DevOps or which is also a combination of development plus operations. This approach is changing the way software is developed today in great companies. Many of the top companies of the world have taken the approach of DevOps to be more productive and in terms of releasing the new codes, new patches, new features and new functionalities. So in this presentation we will be understanding what is this DevOps all about, how it works and how companies are using it, and what are the leading features and benefits of using DevOps. Let me start the presentation with a brief agenda. So I'll be covering the meaning of DevOps models, what does it mean and how does it work. Then how does the working model of a DevOps is practiced in companies and industry. Then I will list certain benefits which are due to the operations and practice of DevOps. Then I will mention you the importance of DevOps, how does it going to change the entire landscape of a development community. Then I will be talking about DevOps practices and how this is implemented in different companies and different individuals. And finally, how to adapt or how to go with DevOps model in your context. The term DevOps is a very comprehensive term. It is a kind of an umbrella term. So what it means is DevOps is the combination of cultural philosophies, practices and tools which are used for the software development. The objective of DevOps approach is to increase an organization's ability to deliver applications and services at high velocity. And this a key term is high velocity. Software has been developing for decades now, but this DevOps approach will take a way in which it can be produced at a faster speed. And by evolving and improving products at a faster pace, the organization using the DevOps do it much faster than the traditional software development and infrastructure management processes. DevOps is an enabler. When an organization or an individual adopts this DevOps approach, he gains some additional speed in the development, and this speed enables organizations to better serve their customers and compete more effectively in the market. Here is a schematic diagram which completely captures the meaning and action of DevOps. See, on the left side you have a company. It could be a developer company or it could be a group of developers working for a company. On the right side you see a customer. So the whole DevOps operation starts with building an app or a feature, testing it and releasing it to the customer, and this is called delivery pipeline. And the moment the customer start using, the company starts monitoring the effectiveness of that product which is released, and this will give you a kind of a feedback, and that is put into the plan for the next version or next iteration of the product. So this is called feedback loop. So by combining this into a single cycle or single loop, the companies are in a better position to understand what their products need to have, and once they have those products, how customers are using, and once the customers are using, what is the reaction and the impact of that product or the feature on the customers, and this is transferred back to the development team very fast, and the team will actually plan for the additional features or the improvement or enhancement of an existing feature immediately. So this way, this close connection between development and implementation gives you a view and a process so that you can add your features very fast, delete the features which are not very useful, or enhance the existing features which give additional functionalities to the customer. Now that we have understood the basic meaning of DevOps approach and also how it actually works in practical context in terms of its action and how it connects the development team, operation team and the customer, now it is time to understand the exact working of DevOps. Under a DevOps model, development and operation teams are no longer siloed, are not separated. So there are no separate developer, tester, operation teams and all. They are all put together under a single umbrella. Sometimes these two teams are merged into a single team where the engineers work across the entire application life cycle, from development to test to deployment to operations, and develop a range of skills not limited to a single function or single stack. In certain DevOps models, quality assurance and security teams may also become more tightly integrated with development operations and throughout the application lifecycle. When security is the focus of everyone on a DevOps team, this is sometimes also referred as DevSecOps. That means development, security, and operations. Now that DevOps brings all people concerned with the software development into a single umbrella, let us see what they do on a day-to-day basis. These teams use practices to automate processes that historically have been manual and slow. So automation replaces manual efforts. They use a technology stack and tooling which help them operate and evolve applications quickly and reliably. The key term here is evolving. So there is no one finished product at any time. It is always evolving. These tools also help engineers independently accomplish tasks. For example, deploying code or provisioning infrastructure that normally would have required help from other teams, and this further increases a team's velocity and productivity. Now that we have learnt about DevOps, its meaning, its working model, now it is time to understand what are its benefits or what are its unique selling propositions or value additions. In a very fast changing world, agility is the key for success, and that agility comes normally through the speed. So one of the value propositions of DevOps model is the speed that is gained by its use. Move at high velocity so you can innovate for customers faster, adapt to changing markets better, and grow more efficient at driving business results. The DevOps model enables your developers and operations team to achieve these results very fast. For example, microservices and continuous delivery let teams to take ownership of services and then release updates on them very quickly and very frequently. The DevOps approach gives speed to the development team. That means, in practical terms, the development team has more to offer more often. So, this in practical terms would mean that a team can offer rapid delivery to the customers, increase the frequency of pace of releases so you can innovate and improve your product much faster. The quicker you can release new features and fix bugs, the faster you can respond to your customers' needs and build competitive advantage. Continuous integration and continuous delivery are practices that automate the software release process from build to deploy. Another important contribution of using DevOps approach is the reliability. It ensures the quality of application updates and infrastructure changes so you can reliably deliver at more rapid pace while maintaining a positive experience for the end users. Use practices like continuous integration and continuous delivery to test that each change is functional and safe. Monitoring and logging practices help you stay informed of performance in real time. Now we are living in a connected and global world. So the success of any product or service or the company behind it depends on its ability to scale. Assuming that you release a very unique product and it becomes viral, then more and more customers will start demanding it. So scaling is your ability to rise up to the occasion and serve those customers without putting stress onto your system. So DevOps approach will take care of the scaling feature also. It will help you operate and manage your infrastructure and development process at scale. Automation and consistency help you manage complex or changing systems efficiently with reduced risk. For example, infrastructure as a code helps you to manage development, testing, and production environment in a repeatable and more efficient manner. Another inherent benefit of using DevOps approach is the security gains. In a connected world, threats can come from anywhere. So the approach will help you move quickly while retaining control and preserving compliance. You can adopt a DevOps model without sacrificing security by using automated compliance policies, fine-grained controls, and configuration management techniques. For example, using infrastructure as a code and policy as a code, you can define and then track back compliance at a great scale. Now that we have understood the meaning, benefits, and the working of DevOps, it is now time to understand the importance of DevOps, or in other words, why DevOps matters in today's software development context. DevOps models are used for software development, and today software and the internet have transformed the world and its industries from shopping to entertainment to banking. Software is no longer merely supports a business, rather it becomes an integral component of every part of a business. Companies interact with their customers through software delivered as online services or applications and on all sorts of devices. In addition to this, they also use software to increase operational efficiencies by transforming every part of the value chain such as logistics, communications and operations. In a similar way that physical goods companies transformed how they design, build and deliver products using industrial automation throughout the 20th century, companies in today's world must transform how they build and deliver software. Now let us move to see how DevOps is in action on day-to-day software development processes. In the DevOps world, these are the current best practices. Number 1, continuous integration. Number 2, continuous delivery. Number 3, microservices. Number 4, infrastructure as code. Number 5, monitoring and logging. Number 6, communication and collaboration. And each one of these would be described in detail in the following slides. The first item in DevOps best practices is continuous integration. Continuous integration is a software development practice where developers regularly merge their code changes into central repository, after which automated builds and tests are run. The key goals of continuous integration are to find and address bugs quicker, improve software quality and reduce the time it takes to validate and release new software updates. The second best practice in the DevOps is continuous delivery, which is the direct consequence of the first, that is continuous integration. Continuous delivery is a software development practice where code changes are automatically built, tested and prepared for release to production. It expands upon continuous integration by deploying all code changes to a testing environment and or production environment after the build stage. When continuous delivery is implemented properly, developers will always have a deployment ready build artifact that has passed through a standardized test process. The DevOps model uses a revolutionary concept called microservices for the development of software. The microservice architecture is a design approach to build a single application as a set of small services. Each service runs its own process and communicates with other services through a well-defined interface using a lightweight mechanism, typically an HTTP based application programming interface called API, and this is called microservices approach. The microservices are built around business capabilities. Each service is scoped to a single purpose. You can use different frameworks or programming languages to write microservices and deploy them independently as a single service or a group of services. The fourth best practice in the DevOps world is called infrastructure as code. Infrastructure as code is a practice in which infrastructure is provisioned and managed using code and software development techniques such as version control and continuous integration. The cloud's API-driven model enables developers and system administrators to interact with the infrastructure programmatically and at scale, instead of needing to manually set up and configure resources which are required by the development teams. In the infrastructure as a code practice, the engineers can interface with the infrastructure using code-based tools and treat infrastructure in a manner similar to how they treat application code. Because they are defined by code, infrastructure and servers can quickly be deployed using standardized patterns, updated with the latest patches and versions, or duplicated in repeatable ways. The configuration management activity is also an important aspect of best practices within the DevOps world. Developers and system administrators use code to automate operating system, host configuration, operational tasks, and more. The use of code makes configuration changes repeatable and standardized. It frees developers and system administrators from manually configuring operating systems, system applications, or server software. The DevOps approach has an interesting consequence called policy as code. With infrastructure and its configuration codified with the cloud, organizations can monitor and enforce compliance dynamically and at scale. Infrastructure that is described by code can thus be tracked, validated and reconfigured in an automated way. The policy as a code approach makes it easier for organizations to govern changes over resources and ensure that security measures are properly enforced in a distributed manner, that is, information security or compliance with PCI, DSS, or HIPAA. This allows teams within an organization to move at a higher velocity since non compliant resources can be automatically flagged for the further investigation or even automatically brought back to compliance. Useful feedback is an integral part of a product development cycle. So, this feedback system is implemented through what we call monitoring and logging. Organizations monitor metrics and logs to see how application and infrastructure performance impacts the experience of their products and user. By capturing, categorizing, and then analyzing data and logs generated by applications and infrastructure, organizations understand how changes or updates impact users, shedding lights and insights into the root causes of problems or unexpected changes. Active monitoring becomes increasingly important as services must be available 24 by 7 and as application and infrastructure updates frequency increases. Creating alerts or performing real-time analysis of this data also helps organizations more proactively monitor their services and intervene if necessary. The last and important best practice of DevOps approach is communication and collaboration. Increased communications and collaboration in an organization is one of the key cultural aspects of DevOps. The use of DevOps tooling and automation of the software delivery process establishes a collaboration by physically bringing together the workflows and responsibilities of development and operations. Building on top of that, these teams set strong cultural norms around information sharing and facilitating communication through the use of chart application, issue or project tracking systems, and wikis. This helps speed up communication across developers, operations, and even other teams like marketing or sales, allowing all parts of the organization to align more closely on goals and projects. Now is the time to adopt the DevOps model into our context or going with the DevOps model. There are a set of few key practices that help organizations innovate faster through automating and streamlining the software development and infrastructure management process. Most of these practices are accomplished with the proper toolings. The one fundamental practice is to perform very frequent but small updates. This is how organizations innovate faster for their customers. These updates are usually more incremental in nature than the occasional updates performed under traditional release practices. Frequent but small updates make each deployment less risky. The frequent updates will help teams to address bugs faster because teams can identify the last deployment that caused the error. Although the cadence and size of updates will vary, organizations using a DevOps model deploy updates much more often than organizations using traditional software development practices such as waterfall models. The changeover or the transitioning to DevOps requires a change in culture and mindset. At its simplest, DevOps is about removing the barriers between two traditionally siloed teams, development and operations. In some organizations, there may not even be a separate development and operation teams. Engineers may do both. With DevOps, the two teams work together to optimize both productivity of the developers and the reliability of the operations. The teams strive to communicate frequently, increase efficiencies, and improve the quality of services they provide to customers. Teams take full ownership for their services, often beyond where their stated roles or titles have traditionally been scoped by thinking about the end customer's needs and how they can contribute towards solving those needs. Quality assurance and security teams may also become tightly integrated with these teams, that is, development and operation teams. Organizations using DevOps model, regardless of their organizational structure, have teams that view the entire development and infrastructure lifecycle as a part of their responsibilities. The organizations might also use a microservices architecture to make their applications more flexible and enable quicker innovation. The microservice architecture decouples large complex systems into simple independent projects. Applications are broken into many individual components called services, with each service scoped to a single purpose or function and operated independently of its peer services and the applications as well as a whole. The DevOps model or architecture reduces the coordination overhead of updating applications, and when each service is paired with small agile teams who take ownership of each service, organizations can move more quickly. The combination of microservices and increased release frequency leads to significantly more deployments, which can present operational challenges. However, DevOps practices like continuous integration and continuous delivery solve these issues and let organizations deliver rapidly in a safe and reliable manner. Infrastructure automation practices like infrastructure as code and configuration management help to keep computing resources elastic and responsive to frequent changes. In addition, the use of monitoring and logging helps engineers track the performance of application and infrastructure so they can react quickly to problems. Together, these practices help organizations deliver faster, more reliable updates to their customers. Now is the time to summarize. DevOps is an idea whose time has come. Successful companies are using it for better results. Companies using it are able to release new updates, features, and functionalities at a faster rate. Adoption of DevOps mindset and practice is a recipe for sure software success.